Hey guys, Nalani with Synthetic here, and today I'll be teaching you how to turn this into this glorious diorama. So today I will be tackling this massive Demogorgon model and showing you the process of how I managed to get this Demogorgon into his natural environment of the Gaping Maw, the 88th level of the Abyss. First things first, in order to make a Demogorgon diorama, I needed a Demogorgon. I printed out all the pieces from a miniature Patreon called Lord of the Print. As I was gluing him together, I got a bit of a taste for how big this project would be, which then got me thinking, he's a demon, so he lives in a nice rocky hellscape, right? So I looked it up, and what I found said that he lived in the Gaping Maw. What's that? Well, the Forgotten Realms wiki says, reflecting the dual personality of its master, the Gaping Maw was a vast continent covered in a jungle surrounded by an equally vast ocean with brine flats. Rising from the sea were twin towers topped with enormous fanged skulls that marked the fortress Abyssim, a labyrinth of dark and cold underwater caves. So what the frickety frack is this? HGTV for monsters? And if so, how can I get my own lair? Hook me up, Demogorgon. So, not only did I have to make a large junglescape, but I had to make a beautiful rocky ocean to go with it. Ouch. With that in mind, I began to make a plan. I like having the model around so I get a feel for the scale, and what pieces of styrofoam would work best for this. Then I started getting the basic shape out with my hot wire cutter. I needed a basin in the foam for the ocean, but the hot wire tool wasn't doing it. So I attached a detailing tool to it instead for the outline, and then just gouged out a ton of material with scissors. It isn't glamorous, but it got the job done. I shaped the sides of the jungle area to give it a bit more texture, and used the detailing head to erase the bubbly texture of the styrofoam on the ocean floor. The description said that there were a lot of underwater caves, so I wanted to make the start of the ocean very rocky. When you're making an area with a lot of spiked rock structures, you want to make sure you have enough varied shapes and that they're all spaced correctly. You can use this to build up land as well, like in the jungle area. I used hot glue to stick the new pieces in place once I was done with them. Texture is key in a diorama. I rolled out some air dry clay into thin sheets and grabbed a rock from outside as a texturing tool. I used a caliche rock, but you can use whatever is bumpy enough that's around you. If you make a styrofoam and clay diorama, be sure to coat everything in Mod Podge. It helps the primer not to eat through it and helps secure the clay into place. I printed off a bunch of basing bits of foliage, crystals, mushrooms, and general battlefield carnage for the environment to feel alive. I glued every little piece down, and I wanted there to be a sort of natural feel to the place, but for signs of previous battles being threaded throughout it. I primed the whole thing off camera, and I'm starting in with a blue-gray color over the model. I'm using a giant makeup brush for this big guy. You can find a cheap one and get good coverage with minis on it. I mixed a little white for the parts that were closer to the light source. Dabbing a little bit of ochre, yellow, brown, and green really made the jungle floor pop, and I used a similar process for the ocean, just with emerald, blue, and white. After the floor was done, I could move on to painting the foliage and the bones. A little footage went missing here, but I'll show the photos that I took afterwards of what the basing bits look like up close. Airbrushing is a good way to get a lot of even color in a little time. I wanted the lowest parts of this guy's body to stick to a bit of the cooler colors I started with, so I started in with blue. and then mixed colors from there, working up to the reds of his tendrils and the golden lighting I have coating everything. After a bit more brushwork, here's some shots of how he turned out. I got out some epoxy, first pouring part B, then part A. You only need a little for any one pass at filling up the smaller areas like this. This project was good in 2 passes, and I used some of the epoxy from the second pass to add some spit to the monster and glue on some extra foliage. This stuff is preserved moss, and it's good to have multiple different textures since it gives the eye something new to interact with on every area of the diorama. And there he is! Beauty Pageant King! I don't have the basing bits up on my website just yet, but I'm planning on shipping them out soon, so make sure to watch for that. And you can find some preserved moss, a wire cutter, and also some grass stuff on my website if you want to make a project like this for yourself.
Okay, well, this project was challenging in many ways, part of which was, frankly, just the scale of it. Usually when you're working in miniatures, they are much smaller, and the fact that he's this big, and he has to be this big because of the sheer size that he is compared to a normal person, was a little daunting to do. I mean, making a diorama this big and painting a model this big is a bit more difficult than normal. Still though, I think he turned out great. I really like some of the natural vibrancy that I was able to bring in with some of the warm lighting for him, as well as I think that I really like how his environment turned out. You know, he has a nice home, he's happy there, and I really like this sort of nice ocean-like area, with all the nice natural rocks jutting out and the mushrooms. So if you liked that video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure to share this video with all of your monster-loving friends in your life. Make sure to subscribe to see more art videos from us, whether it be that we're doing art, whether it be that we're doing epoxy projects and crafts, or whether it be some combination of both, like this diorama is. Either way, make sure to subscribe so that you see more awesome art projects from me. And remember, the best expression is self-expression, and the way that I choose to express myself is through my art. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!